everyone, welcome to Alternavita. Today I have a wrap-up post for you on the history of flour, and I hope you'll find it interesting. But first, I want to share with you my version of healthy soda, and I've been drinking this for at least a year. For quite a while when they came out with Zevia, which is stevia soda. I drank that for quite a while. I haven't really drank soda in many years, except occasionally, like when I go out to restaurants or something. But Zevia I loved, but it is very, very expensive. And when inflation started rising, it got even more expensive, and I just couldn't justify $7 or $8 for a 6-pack of so-called healthy soda. So I came up with my own, and I'm going to show you here. Now I poured this about 10 minutes ago, so it's not fizzing as much as when I first poured it. I'm trying to get some fizz back in there and bubbles, but you cannot see it bubbling up on camera. I can, but you literally can't tell it's not soda. And you can you can make this in all different kinds of flavors. This one I think is black cherry. So what I do, I get this from Aldi, and it is just sparkling water, Belvie. There's nothing in this except carbonated water and natural flavor. And that's what I look for. Carbonated water only. Usually I buy the plain, but they were out. So this is the berry. And then I get this pure aqua. I don't even know if I buy this kind. No, I can't remember because Aldi often runs out of this. Yeah, this one's okay. Pure aqua, sparkling frost water. It usually doesn't have anything strange in it either. I look for it. I don't like those sucralose, or I don't like those other sugars. So I look for ones with zero added sugars. And that's what I look for. And then I just combine them. I really don't like to drink this straight. I don't like it that strong. So I mix them together, and it's an extremely refreshing drink that you literally can't tell it's not soda. And I drink this every night practically, especially on a hot day. Extremely refreshing. So that's my little health tip. Ditch the soda. It's one of the worst things on the planet you could drink for diabetes, weight gain, insulin resistance, non-alcoholic fatty liver. It is absolutely one of the worst things on the planet. And we'll be getting into that, speaking of foods that will kill you. So I told you when I ran out of my beetroot powder, I was going to get this from Walmart, and I just got it yesterday. So this is probably going to be a lot more convenient. 1,000 milligrams in 2 capsules. And I have written about beetroot And I will probably write about beetroot again in the near future, but this is great when you want oxygen, when you want nitric oxide. And I've heard, I saw in the reviews, some people mentioned it helped with leg wound healing. Um, it's just one of the superfoods that has lived up to the hype. And a lot of people, many people, have written about their results using this to lower blood pressure. Okay, I got a new probiotic that I really like. I'm going to butcher the name, I'm sure. Isooge, Eysooge, which just is the name of a distributor. Uh, the website did not, I tried to go to the website, see what I could find. Wouldn't be found, even though it's on the package. I did get this on Amazon. It was about $15, which is a pretty good deal. And the price has risen since then. And the place where I got it from is out of stock, but it is available for about $19. And the huge benefit of this, it's 500 billion CFU in 2 capsules, and it has 22 really good strains here. And 22 is not bad. But what's really great about it is 500 billion for 2 capsules. So that's a really good deal, in my opinion. And I did notice the effects immediately, so I think you will too. And it does have some pretty good reviews so far. So that leads to this week's post, which is the history of flour and how flour became unhealthy. The title is How Flour Became Unhealthy. Why flour became unhealthy, not how. Why. The origins of flour milling. So whole grain flours retain their full nutritional value naturally. The origins of flour milling. And throughout recorded history, people have been grinding grain to make bread. Traditionally, grains like wheat were stone ground, which means that various types of stone tools were used to mill flour. As time progressed, different cultures developed increasingly advanced methods for grinding flour. So the ancient Egyptians began with stone mortar, and then they used more larger stones to grind wheat slowly and gently. So this was around 3000 BC, which is much longer than I ever would have imagined. But that's what I want you to keep in mind when you know about diabetes, celiac, cancer, things like that, and the correlation between all of these today and processed foods, mainly via insulin. So I want you to just keep in mind that, when you think the cause of these conditions possibly couldn't have been around that long, yes, they actually could have been around that long. So white flour is 3000 BC. I think sugar is at least between 1 and 2000 BC. So the Egyptians were first, but it was only affordable for royalty. And then over the centuries, similar practices were adopted by other cultures. Medieval England is one, and they produced a very fine flour through via sifting. And again, only the rich could afford it. So that went on until about 1870. White flour was made through sifting, and the bulky parts of the bran and germ were removed. The flour still contained some wheat germ oil, which preserved a portion of its nutrients. However, between 1870 and 1890, steel roller milling became the dominant method. This process not only sped up flour production, but also allowed millers to completely separate the different parts of the wheat kernel. As a result, flour could be produced much faster. The bran and germ were excluded, leaving only the soft endosperm. The result was completely automated production of very fine white flour, which became affordable for the average household. Additionally, it was more shelf stable. And then everyone wanted it because it was associated with the rich. And then after that, within a couple of decades, it brought significant problems. And the endosperm is nutritionally deficient. And this lack of nutrients was particularly problematic for the poorest households, which had previously relied on wheat flour products for a substantial portion of their daily nutrition. By the 1930s, studies estimated that the average American was consuming only 1/3 of the thiamine they had been getting when stone ground flour was the norm. So as white flour consumption increased, deficiency-related illnesses began to emerge, such as beriberi, which is thiamine deficiency, pellagra, which is niacin tryptophan deficiency, and anemia, which is iron deficiency. So by the 1920s, they recognized they had a major problem. So they began to enrich bread by adding back naturally occurring nutrients and fortifying food adds new ingredients, new nutrients. So what they began doing was enrichment. By 1940, the U.S. mandated that the enrichment of white flour with iron, niacin, thiamine, riboflavin, folic acid was added in the 90s. It didn't make the flour as nutritious, but it helped prevent the deficiency-related illnesses that had been occurring. So today it is illegal in most countries to sell white flour that hasn't been enriched. Okay. And even today, most people prefer the white flours. Some people prefer to use the whole grain flours. So I only have one source, and it's really not about the history, but it helps highlight how all these deficiency syndromes began to rise in the early part of the 1900s, which was preceded by more and more processed foods becoming more and more available to the wider public, especially the poor. And this particular source happens to be from Ireland. But the role of cereals in the etiology of nutritional rickets. So rickets was one of the first widespread malnutrition syndromes that's been studied and that's been treated widespread in the United States and Europe and Asia. But there were also many other studies, similar studies in Asia, and it all coincides with the advent of processed flour. So I've written and talked about the effects of the effects of sugar as a processed food, the effects of rice as a processed food, now the effects of flour as a processed food, and I've mentioned before how most people are probably familiar with salt as a processed food. So this is just what they do. They process the food, they strip all nutritional value from the food, they resell the nutritional parts of the food as various commodities. So they cause the disease, they extract the nutrients, they either prevent or treat the disease by using the nutrients as either nutraceuticals or drugs. So they create a double entry gain for themselves by selling both disease, causing the disease, and then making a profit off of actually they create a triple entry gain because they sell the components as a commodity, and then they sell the processed food, they sell the components, they make drugs from the components. So that's a triple entry gain for them and a triple entry loss for consumers. And I would just like to say that what struck me was the time frame. Now, normally I wouldn't say that correspondence equals causation, but when you have historically significant events like not breastfeeding, you can make a pretty compelling case for correlation. And beginning in the 1870s, 1870 and 1890, they put the businesses, the stone ground businesses out of business within a decade. So the traditional stone grinding mills across Europe and North America closed down because they couldn't compete. So this became a major problem in a relatively short time. And when you look at the rise of cancer, the rise of diabetes, as well as the rise of malnutrition, and could you imagine having a malnutrition of thiamine, niacin, tryptophan, and anemia on top of the problems caused by eating this food, flour, which would be diabetes and insulin, and insulin being considered today as a major factor in causing cancer. You can see the correlation clearly when you actually look at statistical graphs, and things didn't just rise, they rose like a hockey stick, and that's pretty unusual. And then when they began to rise in children, specifically, things such as cancer, that began to occur. That began to correlate with the rise in non-alcoholic fatty liver and diabetes in children and obesity in children. So this has been, however much it may have helped people who were dying from starvation, in the end, I would say the cost benefit ratio has been greatly eliminated due to the severe outcomes of eating these processed foods, and just the sheer number of conditions and costly conditions, lifelong conditions, and I would say the cost benefit ratio of processed food in preventing starvation hasn't been worth it. Well, it hasn't been. It's been worth it for them because it's been. I'm sure it's been economically favorable for them, but it hasn't been good for society as a whole. Definitely not. And the only other take home point is if you go back and check out the celiac, wheat germ prevents and treats celiac disease. I think you can safely, even the fact that that's even published or questioned, let alone shown to be true, that removing these nutrients caused problems that were blame was assigned to something else, and that probably isn't true. So I think, now if you're one of those people who stays away from gluten, you can probably question that. And window, my door just blew open. You can take a look at what happened to people when the nutritional components were completely removed, and how and things like celiac, it probably doesn't have anything to do with gluten. So, okay, everyone, thanks for your time. So again, sorry so late, and I will be back with the next superfood that I can find, or maybe it will be about a combination of superfoods. I don't know yet. But thanks for your time. I'll see you next time. Bye.